Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere, member and chair of the Tanganyika African National Union TANU party and of its successor Chama cha Mapinduzi from 1954 to 1990. Ideologically, an African nationalist and an African socialist, he promoted the political philosophy known as Ujamaa. Servant of God, Mwalimu. Awards: Lenin Peace Prize, Gandhi Peace Prize, Juliot Curie Medal in Uganda and then Edinburgh University in Scotland. In 1952, he returned to Tanganyika, married and worked as a school teacher. In 1954, he helped form TANU, through which he campaigned for Tanganyika independence from the British Empire. Influenced by Indian independence leader Mahatma Gandhi, Nyerere preached non-violent protests to achieve this aim. Elected to the Legislative Council in 1958 to 1959 elections, Nyerere then led TANU to victory at the 1960 general elections, becoming the Prime Minister. Negotiations with the British authorities resulted in Tanganyikan independence in 1961. In 1962, Tanganyika became a republic, with Nyerere elected as its first president. His administration pursued decolonization and the Africanization of the civil service while promoting unity between the indigenous Africans and countries' Asian and European minorities. He encouraged the formation of one-party state and unsuccessfully pursued the Pan-Africanist formation of East African Federation with Uganda and Kenya. In 1963, mutiny within the army was suppressed with the British assistance. Following the Zanzibar Revolution of 1964, the island of Zanzibar was unified with Tanganyika to form Tanzania. After this, Nyerere placed growing emphasis on the national self-reliance and socialism. Although his socialism differed from that promoted by Marxism-Leninism, Tanzania developed close links with Mao Zedong's China. In 1967, Nyerere issued the Arusha Declaration, which outlined his vision of Ujamaa. Banks and other major industries and companies were nationalized. Education and healthcare were significantly expanded. Renewed emphasis was placed on agricultural development through the formation of communal farms, although these reforms hampered food production and left areas dependent on food aid. His government provided training to aid the anti-colonialist groups fighting white minority rule throughout Southern Africa. Tanzania's 1978-1979 war with Uganda, which resulted in the overthrow of Uganda President Idi Amin. In 1985, Nyerere stood down and was succeeded by Ali Hassan Mwinyi, who reversed many of Nyerere's policies. He remained chair of the Chama cha Mapinduzi until 1990, supporting a transition to a multi-party system, and later served as mediator in attempts to end the Burundian civil war. Nyerere was a controversial figure. Across Africa, he gained widespread respect as an anti-colonialist and in part received praise for ensuring that, unlike many of its neighbors, Tanzania remained stable and unified in the decades following independence. His construction of the one-party state and use of detention without trial led to accusation of dictatorial governance, also being blamed for economic mismanagement. He is held in deep respect within Tanzania, where he is often referred to by the Swahili honorific Mwalimu, teacher, and described as the father of the nation. Childhood 1922 to 1934. Julius Kambarage Nyerere was born on 13th April 1922 in Mwitongo, an area of the village of Butiama in Tanganyika's Mara region. He was one of the 25 surviving children of Nyerere Burito, the chief of the Zanaki people. Burito had been born in 1860 and was given the name Nyerere, caterpillar in Zanaki, after a plague of worm caterpillars infested the local area at the time of his birth. Burito had been appointed chief in 1915, installed in that position by the German imperial administrators of what was then German East Africa. His position was also endorsed by the incoming British imperial administration. Burito had 22 wives, of whom Julius' mother, Mugaya Nyang'ombe, was the fifth. She had been born in 1892 and had married the chief in 1907. When she was 15, Mugaya bore Burito 4 sons and 4 daughters, of which Nyerere was the second child. 2 of his siblings died in infancy. These wives lived in various huts around Burito's cattle corral, in the center of which was his roundhouse. The Zanaki were one of the smallest of the 120 tribes in the British colony and were then subdivided among 8 chiefdoms. They would only be united under the kingship of Chief Wanzagi Nyerere, Burito's half-brother, in the 1960s. Nyerere's clan were the Abahibwege. At birth, Nyerere was given the personal name Mugendi, Walker in Zanaki, but this was soon changed to Kambarage, the name of a female spirit, at the advice of the Omugabu diviner. Nyerere was raised into the polytheistic belief system of the Zanaki people and lived at his mother's house, assisting in the farming of the millet, maize and cassava. With other local boys, he also took part in the herding of goats and cattle. At some point, he underwent the Zanaki traditional circumcision ritual at Gabizuyo. As the son of a chief, he was exposed to African administered power and authority, and living in the compound gave him an appreciation for communal living that would influence his later political ideas. The final years, 1994 to 1999. Mwalimu Nyerere remained active in international affairs, attending the 1994 Pan-African Congress held in Uganda City, Kampala. In 1997, he gave a speech marking the 40th anniversary of the Ghanaian independence, in which he expressed the support for Pan-African ideals and warning against a return to the tribe across the continent. He pointed to the example of growing European unity within the European Union as a model for African states to imitate. In the late 1990s, he also reflected on his presidency, noting that although he made mistakes, particularly in prematurely pursuing nationalism, he stood by the principles of the Arusha Declaration. Cause for canonization, reception, and legacy. Nyerere had a legacy which continues to inspire millions of people in Tanzania and elsewhere, especially in other parts of Africa. But it's also a legacy that has drawn mixed reactions from many other people depending on how they saw him as a leader and the kind of policies he pursued. Godfrey Mwakikagile, 2006. Within Tanzania, Nyerere has been termed the father of the nation and was also known as Mwalimu, that is teacher. He gained recognition for the successful merger between Tanganyika and Zanzibar and for leaving Tanzania as a united and stable state. Moloney noted that Nyerere was often depicted as Wonder Kid and is remembered as one of the Africa's most respected statesmen. An African studies scholar named Godfrey Mwakikigale stated that it was Nyerere's ideals of equality and social justice which sustained Tanzania and earned it a reputation as one of the most stable and peaceful countries in Africa and one of the most united, a rare feat on this turbulent continent. For Mwakikagile, Nyerere was one of the world's most influential leaders of the 20th century. Nyerere was remembered in African nationalist history as an uncompromising socialist. Moloney stated that Nyerere's contribution to socialism was to make it African and